Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show. Back again for the predictions for the Thursday show ahead of match day 16 and obviously the big kickoff again on Friday, just 24 hours or so ahead of now, Peter. Obviously, a lot of people are saying it's the Rückrunde kickoff, but I know that you're being a German and everything, you have to be very specific about it. And I know that you're one of the guys that say, no, the Rückrunde only starts next weekend, not this weekend, because obviously we've got this weekend and then the Englische Woche as well, and midweek set of fixtures, which will conclude the Hinrunde officially before the Ruck officially starts with match day 18, which will be this time next week. So yeah, Peter, how are you doing? How was your Christmas over there in the States?
I was very well. Also had as Germans call it, a guten Rutsch ins neues Jahr. It's my pleasure to wish you a happy 2025 in person. And to all of those out there who are interested in the world's best footballing beat, a very happy new year to you. I know you have to wait for us to come back and for us to conclude our Hinrunde while you're watching all of that embarrassment of riches that is the English football over the holidays. But we're back over here on the world's best footballing beat, and we got some great action to review for you.
Yeah, we do without doubt. Yeah, no less than the Friday night curtain raiser for the 2025 Bundesliga, which is going to be taking place over in North Rhine-Westphalia, with obviously one of the kind of stalwarts of German football, Borussia Dortmund, hosting the current champions, the defending champions, Bayer 04 Leverkusen. So, yeah, Peter, it's 2025. I'm going to let you lead out today to kick us off with this one. So what do you think? What's your tip?
Well, this match has enormous ramifications for the title race. Leverkusen came on to form late in 2024 and ended the calendar year with a 9-match unbeaten run. And they are, of course, running up against historical headwinds in this case because Dortmund have actually never lost the first match of the calendar year in over 20 years. Moreover, we have the fact that Dortmund have been absolutely splendid at home this season. But if we take a look at the personnel situation, it looks like things are slightly tilting in the defending champions' favor. We have, of course, the problem that there's been an outbreak of illness in the Dortmund camp. This likely means that Rami Bensebaini and Waldemar Anton will remain unavailable, along with Marcel Sabitzer. Daniel Malen, with all of the transfer gossip, probably won't start. That might mean a cold start for Adeyemi, which, of course, could be a good thing. And we also have Granit Xhaka, who is questionable for Die Werkself. But I really do think that with or without Xhaka, as strange as that might sound, Leverkusen retain the clear edge in this one, despite the fact that Borussia plays so strongly at home. And I'm going to go ahead and tip a 3-2 victory for Germany's Red Company team. Mark, do you agree?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because obviously the fact that there are a lot of missing bodies for Dortmund, but I still feel as though the loss of Xhaka, who for me remains the Leverkusen's key player amongst anybody else, really, that could be a big loss for the Werkself. Obviously, you would imagine that they'll bring in Andrich, who kind of dropped to the bench a little bit, didn't he, towards the back end of the Hin, in favour of the on-form, the returning form of Palacios. So I would imagine it'll be them two, Palacios and Andrich, who make up that midfield, which is still a very, very strong team. But sometimes I think personnel and even tactics goes out of the window when you consider, the yellow wall, the home fans. And we've seen so many times Dortmund kind of play above their level. This is not a vintage Dortmund team in my taste, with or without the likes of Bensebaini, Waldemar Anton. It's always been, for me, the last couple of seasons has always been more of a case of individual brilliance winning games for them, and like the odd purple patch where they'll score 3 goals in 20 minutes or something, bailing them out of pretty average performances overall. But I believe that they might be able to get a similar kind of performance in this one. I feel as though the loss of momentum from the break for Leverkusen could affect them a little bit in this one. And obviously they're coming into this in a big game too, because if they do get the win that Peter predicts and they go within 1 point of Bayern Munich ahead of their match on Saturday evening. So it is a big pressure match. If they can win this, they really, really are in a title race all of a sudden. But for me, they won't win it. They'll get a 1-1 draw. I think that's what I'm going for in this one. I have a bit of a feeling the match might let down a little touch. So let's hope it ends up being like what Peter thinks in this case. So yeah, let's move on to the Saturday games, which is obviously a game between two company clubs, SAP versus Volkswagen. Yeah, I think one company, SAP, which is flying, and Volkswagen, which is not flying at the moment. So, but with the football clubs, it's pretty much the opposite way around, to be honest, because I think Hoffenheim are definitely the team that look much worse than the VfL in this particular game. I mean, it's not really worked out for Ilzer at all, has it? Let's be honest. He's not managed to find a clear strategy of play. You know, I think he seems to be losing hope in Lojek as well after he was hooked early against Steyr Bucharest just before the break. But they have brought in Gift Orban, so it will be interesting to see if he starts yet another striker to the 1,000,001 strikers that they've already got. But, you know, if you can't beat them, join them, as they say. You know, anything but sign a decent defender for Hoffenheim, basically. As for Wolfsburg, even though they lost the last two games before the break, obviously in the game that myself and Peter saw against Freiburg and then the Dortmund one, I still feel as though they're playing well, the VfL. And I think they had a very satisfactory first part of the season. Despite sitting in 11th place, I do believe they remain European contenders. So all that said and done, I believe that the Wolfsburg team, which I believe is relatively full strength for this one, should have enough to win in Sinsheim. I'm going to go for a 2-1 VfL win. What do you think, Peter?
Yes, we sync up exactly. As you correctly pointed out, Ilzer has been an absolute travesty at Hoffenheim. They have not won since his first match in charge. I hate this coaching appointment. I hate the managerial appointment as well. And Andreas Schicker, I think the idea of turning Hoffenheim into a sort of mini Sturm Graz was lame and uninspired and a little bit desperate. And I wouldn't be surprised to see both of those guys sacked. I maintain my prediction that Hoffenheim will probably factor into the relegation race this season, irrespective of how many strikers they bring in. They also recalled that young talent who was playing under Ilzer in Austria over the winter break as well. You know, we talked a little bit about how Hasenhüttl has found his best 11 and has found his best set of tactics. But he does kind of screw them up a little bit by moving Amora over to the right-hand side sometimes to accommodate Wind. And we have the problem here that Ridla Baku is his transfer to Leipzig should get over the line, I think, in the next 24 hours or so he may not be available. But that still should be good enough for a 2-1 Wolfsburg win. I just don't see Hoffenheim gelling in any sort of way. Particularly not after, you know, so soon with so many new actors brought in over the international break. Someone, you mentioned Gift Orban, which is a big winter signing. And I think that provides an excellent segue over into Heidenheim Union Berlin, because I am very, very excited, extremely excited to see the Georgian striker Budo Sivcivadze. Have you been practicing that pronunciation since he signed for Heidenheim?
We actually had a bit of it on the Monday pod, actually, ironically.
That's right. That's right.
I think Rory was really struggling with it, so he passed it over to me, that one. But yeah, it is an excellent name, Zivzivadze. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's from your hometown, well, your German residence town, I should say. And I know you don't like your German residency town, so you should know him pretty well, Peter. Yeah.
I saw him, as a matter of fact, when I did do an Over the Bar vlog together with my father in honor of his KSA. I watched him have an excellent match and learned how to pronounce his name back then. That huge victory, that 7-goal victory or 7-1 victory over Magdeburg, I think it was last spring. But anyway, a lot of things are breaking in Heidenheim's favor here. So they have Zivzivadze. They also have Kretzig, who I don't think is quite ready to start yet. But Union to talk about things that you covered on the Monday pod, the big coaching appointment over the transfer window is Stefan Baumgart. So Zivzivadze gets a crack at Stefan Baumgart's version of Erste FC Union Berlin. And I have to say, in a test fixture against Kiel, it looked pretty wretched. We had a test, they lost a test fixture against Kiel just last week. So, or was it last week? The days are running together a little bit here. Yeah, it was on Sunday. So, okay, we'll technically say that last week. Baumgart is going with a back four, which looks pretty wretched. He also has to deal without his sort of midfield talisman, Randy Kadira, who is suspended. That might lead Kevin Vogt and Lucas Toussaint to pair in midfield. I have zero confidence in that pairing whatsoever. So I'm going to tip that Heidenheim get back on track here against what looks to be a pretty shaky Union side in a lot of different respects. That test fixture was just not good. I mean, it was simply not good. Kevin Volland got some minutes. If you forgot that he played for Union Berlin, that's perfectly forgivable. But yeah. Baumgart just couldn't find the attacking prowess with all the strikers that he rotated in until Vertessen scored. Anyways, so what do you think about this one? I'm going to go ahead and say a 3-0 win for Heidenheim.
Wow, that's a big tip.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, but to be honest, I'm on a similar line because it just seems as though everything's going wrong for Union. I think we all said in December that we didn't think Union would factor into a relegation zone. But, I mean, the news today, if that goes ahead, the fact that me and you, Peter, we were traveling, weren't we? We were ground hopping in the weekend when that happened, that incident with the whole Druez being hit by the lighter and everything. And neither of us thought that Bochum had a cat in hell's chance of getting the points in that game. But obviously it was announced that it's been given, wasn't it? But, I mean, there will be an appeal, but, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a high chance it'll be upstood that maybe Union will lose a point and Bochum will gain 2 there. So, I mean, that would bring them quite a bit closer towards Bochum, potentially, and on awful form. And I'm on a similar line to you. I'm quite impressed with the signings that Heidenheim have made. I also think Kretzig is an interesting signing too, because let's not forget that he was starting the first few games under Hoeneß at Stuttgart. So he's very, very highly rated. And I thought he was a bit unlucky to get completely binned by Hoeneß, to be honest, at Stuttgart, because I think in the Super Cup against Leverkusen, he looked really good, actually, in that game. So along with Paul Vanner, it's another coup, really, I would say, for Heidenheim. 2 very young German hopes on the team. And, yeah, obviously Zivzivadze as well could potentially bring some quality to a front line, which has been severely lacking at times this season. So I am going to go for a win. I don't think it could be quite 3-0, although I'm sure they'll be celebrating it long into the night in Bavaria, in Schwabia, if they do manage to get that 3-0. But I'm going to go for a 1-0 and for Stefan Baumgart to make a pretty drastic start to his time in Berlin. So, yeah, let's move on to another game where probably a lot of teams will be tipping a home win here. Obviously, the Sport Club Freiburg against Holstein Kiel, who obviously had a lot of hope based on that 5-1 win over Augsburg that they managed to rattle up just before Christmas. As for Freiburg, they were on the wrong end of a 5-1 defeat just before Christmas, but against an admittedly scintillating Leverkusen side on that particular day. So I wouldn't be too worried based on that performance. Yeah, I think for Kiel, a lot of it depends on the lineup they go with. I mean, hopefully they're going to actually stick this time with the lineup that was put out against Augsburg, because that was the issue with Rapp. He just couldn't settle on a kind of standardized system or standardized 11, could he? And I felt as though the best we saw of Kiel in the first part of the season was when they were more solid. They went with a similar lineup and not all this chopping and changing and things. So hopefully the likes of, Knudsen, Remberg, our boy Phil Harris, the most English-sounding German of all time, will obviously make it into the lineup in this game. But I still think that Freiburg, as a strong home team, should have too much for the Northern boys. I mean, this, by the way, for you geography lovers, this is one hell of a trek as well, by the way. I mean, in the freezing cold weather as it is in Germany at the minute. I mean, I doubt even Kiel will be able to afford to fly this one. I don't know. Maybe they'll have to come down by coach. So I think they're about to set off yesterday if they wanted to come down by coach for this one. It's a good 1,000. I would imagine it's around about 1,000 kilometers the distance for this match. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 SCF win. What do you think, Peter?
I'll invest some faith in Kiel here and tip a 1-1 draw. You mentioned the geography. This is the northernmost team in Germany playing the southernmost team in Germany, and of course, we should mention that Freiburg in Breisgau is our new favorite ground hopping locale. Also in the winter, as it's the most likely to have higher temperatures. It's right there on the Swiss border, tucked in with the Swiss border and the French border. But I really did like the look of Kiel in that test fixture. New signing, new central defensive signing, David Šek, I believe his name is pronounced. He's Slovenian. Started and made a very, very good first impression there. So I think that they have in this new signing someone who is ready to contribute right away. The same does not apply to the Rwandan international that they signed over the break, unfortunately. Oh, and yeah, speaking of Kiel transfer news, congratulations to my former Lautern player, Timotheus Pukac, who has gone to an English club I had no idea existed, and I have no idea why it existed. He was loaned out today to Plymouth Argyle. A Mayflower club in England. It makes no sense.
Wayne Rooney's former club, by the way. He just got fired. Yeah, he just got fired. So. Okay.
Well, forgive me. I just don't understand why we have the Mayflower in England, considering it went to the States. But yeah, I do like Kiel in this one, and I think that Freiburg. I mean, they're for all of the fireworks that we saw there in Breisgau at the end of the year. I mean, I think they're still a mediocre team. I see we have Gary Jones checking in. We're going to be getting to that fairly soon. I guess I'll turn it over to you first for Mainz Bochum before we get to St. Pauli Eintracht.
Yeah, we'll cover that one, Gary, when as Peter said, when we cover Eintracht's visit to St. Pauli. So yeah, let's kick off with this one. So yeah, Mainz Bochum. I mean, yeah, basically this is a game that again most people will probably have down as a home win, but I don't think it's quite so simple, this one, because first of all, Amiri will be suspended for this one, and also Johnny Burkhardt, I believe, is going to miss the game as well. So that's probably their two biggest assets at both sideline for this one. And also Bochum, I mean, the season is starting to look a bit differently. I mean, they can't guarantee those 2 extra points, which for me are really bonus points if they do get them. But I think in my opinion, I don't know if you agree, Peter, but I think there's a high chance that they will remain on the board. So they could potentially be on 8 points now. So only 2 points adrift of Heidenheim. So, I mean, there is definitely fire in the belly of Dieter Hecking's men going into this game. And it's obviously a different kind of challenge as well to what Mainz have been facing recently, because obviously they've had brilliant wins against the likes of Dortmund, Bayern, and Frankfurt just before Christmas. So they are very, very buoyant going into this one. But this is a game they're expected to win, and they've not actually done that well in these kind of games so far this season. And it will be interesting to see if Henriksen can kind of put together a set of tactics that can break down what is likely to be a defensive-oriented Bochum side. I mean, as for Bochum, though, I think the return of Bernardo was very timely, let's say that much. I mean, he is their best defender, probably their best player, to be honest, Bernardo. And I thought he was superb in his first match after injury against Heidenheim. And they look a different team, and all of a sudden you're starting to think maybe they can do the miracle and stay up. I mean, but I think Mainz will still get the win in this game. I think it will be tight, but I think they'll get a 2-1 for me. What do you think, Peter?
Yes, I agree completely. Based on the fact that Mainz also had a very successful test fixture over the international break, in which they beat Frankfurt 3-1, as a matter of fact, and it was a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, 3-6-1 hybrid utilized by Svensson. No major surprises. You had Jae Sung Lee and Paul Nabel backing up Armindo Sieb. who seems to have finally arrived as a more than serviceable replacement for Burkhardt, should Burkhardt be unable to give it a go. It was a good match. I think we'll see the exact same 11, the exact same tactical formation from Henriksen in this one. And you're also, you mentioned that Bochum are obviously going to be a defensive oriented side, but I think that Mainz can do the dirty work of breaking them down at home in this one. And I agree with your scoreline completely. I did go ahead and, in response to Gary's query, check on, because Plettenberg, who is the Plettigol, the German transfer guru, did report that personal terms have been agreed. I had a look at Kicker to see if Germany's preeminent footballing publication is going to confirm this rumor just yet. They have not. But that may be the case because it is a little bit late in the newsroom there in Nuremberg, just down the street from Mark, and they may be confirming it soon. If Marmoush's departure is confirmed, that is obviously huge news, not only for Eintracht, but for German football fans who would have loved to have seen. Also, the St. Pauli fans. Don't forget, Marmoush played for St. Pauli on loan. And they, I think, even had they plan to welcome him back with a choreo and things like that. So that would be horrible news for Frankfurt, and that would leave this match almost off the table to predict. I'm going to predict a Frankfurt victory anyway. But without Marmoush, Frankfurt have options without Marmoush. You can put Matanovic up there as a lone striker, or Ekitike up there as a lone striker. That's not necessarily a problem. As a matter of fact, you could still play a 4-4-2 with Matanovic and Ekitike. St. Pauli have struggled at home this season. So I would go for a 2-0 victory for Frankfurt here, irrespective of what happens to our favorite Egyptian, the man who dances the marmushka. What are you thinking?
Yeah, just to check in on a couple of other nice points as well from John Fleming. Yeah, hi guys, very excited to have the Bundesliga back this weekend. I've really enjoyed the vlogs you've been putting out over the last few months. Yeah, well, we've got another one coming out for you over the next couple of days as well, which is maybe not quite so big as the Freiburg or Leipzig ones, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it nonetheless. And also from Steve as well, agreeing about enjoying some of the match day vlogs as well. Yeah, guys, you've got to get over here and see the Bundesliga games. It's why we do this after all, So as for the game, Peter, I was exactly on your lines as well. I think this is going to be a 2-0 win. I just feel it's very unlikely we're going to see Marmoush, even if obviously it's not gone ahead officially yet. I would imagine it will go through very, very soon. And if they have got the 80 million euros, it's one hell of a coup as well. Because let's not forget, they got him on a free, I believe, from Wolfsburg just 18 months ago. So, that's Premier League money for you. You know what I mean? It's, money that basically Bundesliga teams could only dream of. And to sign, that could keep a team like Eintracht Frankfurt going for a couple of years, really, couldn't it? So, it's one hell of an effort. But I still believe there's enough quality in this Frankfurt side. What we've seen in Matanovic has been good as well, I believe. He's looked really good. The little we've seen of him, because obviously that strike pair between Marmoush and Ekitike has been so good, so he's not really been able to get in. But Peter, at least we got to see him before he potentially departs, didn't we, in Leipzig? But it is sad for the Bundesliga to lose that kind of quality. But Frankfurt are a team that know how to invest money, and I'm sure they will bring in some quality replacement as well. But I'm going to sync up with you, Peter, in this one. I think it's going to be a 2-0 win for the Eintracht in Pauli. So, the top spiel, Peter. Go on, I'll lead on the top spiel, actually, this time. Just a few other nice comments as well coming in as well from Gully FC. Been listening while driving. Thanks, appreciate your work. That's nice to hear. From Ben as well. Hard to disagree with your predictions for the results. So set the BVB Bayer. I think that's going to be a draw. Yeah, that was my tip, by the way. And also another one from Ben as well. Some great fixtures this weekend. If you could pick out one game to go on vlog, which one would it be? Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, we're not going to on this week, actually. But Yeah, I mean, BVB Bayer would have to be the one, I guess. Probably Gladbach Bayern I would choose, or Pauli Frankfurt. I think that would be a really cool one to go to as well. Obviously, we experienced the Frankfurt away fans and the travelling numbers, let's just say that much. I'm sure they will up to Hamburg this weekend as well. Which one would you go for, Peter, if you could go and vlog one of these games this weekend?
Well, probably the one we're about to discuss. Gladbach has an exceptional fan culture, and that's not something that we've been able to showcase on the vlogs that we've done thus far. I actually did visit Gladbach for one of the warm-up matches prior to the summer's Euros, and did a little vlog on that. So the best I could do for you there was show you some of the murals and graffitis and stuff like that near the stadium. They're really the Niederrheiner, as they call themselves, the guys from the nether regions of North Westphalia. They are, they're excellent, and this should be a great atmosphere on Saturday night. The Saturday night Topspiel, very much tuning into, even though, I expect you're going to talk a little bit about Bayern dominance now. You said you wanted to lead on that, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, obviously Bayern will be big favourites going into this game. They've been pretty much flawless for most of the season. No less than that amazing 5-1 win over Leipzig, which really kind of underlined their title credentials this year after the disappointing 2-1 loss and their only loss in the league so far against Mainz the week before. And obviously with the fact that Harry was back, I still believe that he is the main man for this team. Whenever he plays, it just all comes together, just as that number 9, even if he doesn't score or even, do that much, he's just the main man, isn't he? Like, he's just he puts it all together and he frees up space for the likes of Olise and Sane or Musiala or those kind of guys. And the defense is so preoccupied with Kane that they often end up letting the other guys do the work for him, basically. Gladbach isn't a place they like to go, though, actually. I believe that last season was the only time they'd won there in about 6-7 years. So it's always been known as a kind of like, bogey team a little bit, but not so much at the Allianz, but in the Niederrhein, as they call it. But for me, I still believe, again, this is a good time for Bayern. Bayern like these kind of games. They're fresh out of the block. They'll have been preparing for this game for the last 2 weeks or so, and it's hard to see them not winning against an improving Gladbach side, but I just think it'll be a step too far. So I've gone for a 3-1 Bayern win here. What do you think, Peter?
Yes, we'll sync up exactly there. I do think that I should point out that Gladbach looked very good in their test fixture against Nijmegen, the Dutch side. Kvankara started alongside Tim Kleindienst in a 4-2-2-2. There's been a lot of exit rumors regarding Kvankara. Of course, our boy is our Czech signing, who was originally signed to replace Marcus Thuram. Has been displaced because he never got a shot due to injuries, and then Kleindienst sort of came in and replaced him. We should point out that Gladbach finally are improving, and they broke that 2.5-year-long curse without consecutive wins. And they have a lot of good, talented actors, like Stöger and like Philippe Sander, who are not even getting starting places in this team. So perhaps Gerardo Seoane has something, with a good roster, with a strong and deep depth chart. Perhaps he has some surprises in store for us. But if Harry Kane is on the pitch, you mentioned what he does. The work that he does really gets Germans excited as well, because he is such a hard worker on those deep dropbacks that it's incredible. He could be a German striker. And of course, we're all grateful that, we all hope that maybe one of his many children might eventually represent us one day if he can build a career here. And
he could be Peter, but he's not, and he never will be. You can stick with Kai Havertz, and I'm sure you'll be happy. Yeah. but yeah. Anyway, moving on. So an interesting game, obviously in the east part of Germany as well, and it's against one of the underperformers of the season against probably the overperformance of the season so far. Leipzig against Werder Bremen. This is a tough one to tip because, you could go either way on this one, to be honest, because Bremen have just been a joy to watch, haven't they? They really have. I mean, the fans are just absolutely buoyant about this team. I've spoken to a couple of Werder fans recently, and they just can't stop the superlatives about this team. And what Ole Werner has done at that club has been brilliant, like the step-by-step improvement. And this year, there's just so many players that are playing well. I mean, obviously, Kern is the one that's getting a lot of the credit because, I mean, the fact that they can attack down both sides now, basically, rather than just a side with Weiser, the evergreen Weiser, who just never has a bad season, really, does he, these days? And then, obviously, the form of Jens Stage as well. I mean, he's just been a revelation this season. A little bit surprised about the money that's been taught to prize him away because, I mean, he's been a bit of a journeyman, really, for most of his career, if we're being honest. And now, all of a sudden, they're talking about, like, 20 million to the Premier League and things, and it just seems crazy, really. But, I mean, he has been brilliant this season. Nobody can question that. But for me, I think this is going to be a good watch. I'm really, really unsure which way to go, but I've decided to go for a draw. I think it is going to be a 2-2 draw, this one, but it's very hard to tip. Any thoughts, Peter?
Well, before getting to my thoughts, wow, thank you for all of these touching comments that are coming in here in the comment section. Mark and I really appreciate it as we we put the hard work in there on the road, and then of course there's the editing and all of this stuff. So wow, thank you guys so very much. I'll also add to the Marmouche transfer rumors that it is being reported now that Frankfurt are interested in taking on Füllkrug on loan as a potential replacement. I would say that as if they didn't learn their lesson last January with those EPL transfers of Sasha Kalajdzic and Donny van de Beek. I don't know if necessarily back Frankfurt to do another EPL loan out this time around. But this match, we are going to disagree here because I really like the way that Bremen are improving, and I think that they're European contenders. And we talked about this a lot at the end of the calendar year. You guys talked about it a little bit on Monday as well. That they are a team that finally seems poised to qualify for European football. We have a little bit of problems. Marvin Duksch is struggling with Schilddrüse. Oh, how do I translate Schilddrüse? I think that would be your pituitary gland. He's having some problems with his metabolism, his pituitary gland, so he's been sitting out training sessions. We may not see Duksch on the pitch on Sunday. And then last time I checked on Kicker, they are declaring that both David Raum and Xavi Simons are fully fit enough to start for RB in this one. And that makes a world of difference, I think, in my opinion. So I'm actually going to tip. I think we'll see a good game out of this one from Bremen. I think we'll see maybe a couple of goals, but I'll go for a 4-2 victory for Leipzig. In this one, I think that it'll be a big win for Mark's German Red Bulls. He enjoyed himself very much when we went to the Red Bull Arena.
Once a bull, always a bull.
There you go.
Just don't say that to anyone in Nuremberg.
Well, it is technically called Rasenballsport Leipzig. You don't have to use
exactly. What's Red Bull? It's nothing.
No.
Red Bull's only New York, Peter.
And South Korea and Brazil and also Oh god, that's another story. A few nice little comments, and let's just give the guys a bit of So Steve Tim thinks a 1-1 draw in this one. So I've gone for 2-2. You've gone for 1-1. Yeah, and quite a lot of credit as well coming in for the Derby Day dive-ins as well. So we might have to consider. I think they took place before you were recruited, Peter, actually. I believe they were quite old school then. I don't know if you watched them back, but we had some fun doing them back in the day. And then obviously Gary kind of echoing his thoughts as well, saying he remembers those famous Derby Day dive-ins. So we have to... maybe we have to do something like that. Maybe do them outside the ground. You never know, Peter. We might have a chance to do that as well. But I'm going to let you lead on the final game of the weekend. Poor Rory, if he's listening, had to wait 35 minutes for us to get to his team. But this is a very interesting one, actually, because we have, I think Karlsruhe is missing for Stuttgart, and that's obviously a huge loss for them. Even though this game, what we saw from Augsburg prior to the break was just so embarrassingly bad. It was horrible. But they did they ended up losing a test fixture to Hoffenheim. But I thought that for the first hour, they really, really played good football, and that Torp had them finally, back in a stable tactical setup, and the Fugerstätte looked a lot better. Stuttgart, of course, are still without Leveling is not a candidate to start. Undav is still gone. I don't know what the status on Brun Larsen is. There was a wonderful piece in Kicker today in which Brun Larsen talked about reuniting with Sebastian Hoeneß, who actually recruited him way back when to German football and discovered him. So we might see him start for Stuttgart. I will give the Swabians the benefit of the doubt in this one and say that they get a 2-1 victory. But to that, I wish to add the caveat that Augsburg are probably a lot stronger than we think based on that last league result. I really did like what I saw from them in that test fixture. So, Mark, I'll hand over to you then.
Yeah, so I'll put your score down for this one, Peter. But yeah, this is a tough one because for me, yes, Torup is probably getting towards the end of his tenure. If we don't see a reaction in this game, because I know for a fact that Augsburg fans were beyond furious about that result against Kiel, and the whole club just went into meltdown over that, basically. I mean, to say it was poor is just an understatement, really. I mean, to lose 5-1 against a team that could barely win a game the whole half of the season is just not good enough. And the way they just kind of stopped trying basically after the 3-1 was unacceptable, really. And I believe that if they lose this game easily, we could see possibly the end of Torup. I will go that far. I mean, myself and Rory did a bit of research into what the Augsburg fans are thinking at the minute. And I know for a fact that they're not particularly happy with Torup at the moment. Whether that's just a reaction to the 5-1, I don't know, but they'll definitely need some kind of reaction in this game. Even if it's not a win necessarily, they'll need a fighting defeat, I would say. But for me, they're not going to get it. I believe that Stuttgart also need a fight in this game because they also had a poor result before the break. Let's not forget when they were beaten at home by Pauli. I think the fact that they've had 3 weeks to relax and rest basically will help them a lot as well because they had too many fixtures. For me, that's been the problem with Stuttgart this year. They've not got the roster to basically compete on 3 fronts, on the league, the Champions League, and the Pokal, which is still in as well. So for me, the 3-week break, I know they played probably a test fixture last week, but that's, it's low energy kind of fixture, and I wouldn't read too much into that personally. But I'm actually going to go for a 3-0 VfB win. I'm sure Rory will be happy with that result, but that's what I've gone for in this one. I'm just a little bit worried about Torup, and my feeling is that his tenure is coming to an end, to be honest, unfortunately. John Fleming agrees. He thinks that Augsburg is strange, very hot and cold, but I think Stuttgart will edge them. Yeah. And then Paul checking in as well, saying, I had the chance to go to a game at Augsburg last season. Yeah, really nice little stadium. I think everyone's been to Augsburg pretty much. Yeah, myself. Yeah, most people to do with Over the Bar have been to Augsburg at some stage. Yeah. So I'd like to back them to win this, especially as they're playing Rory's team. Yeah, there you go. Okay, good comment, Paul. Anyway, yeah, that concludes the week's results for match day 16. So yeah, thanks for all your fantastic comments as well this week. We had some really nice interaction there as well. And yeah, obviously, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that we can keep growing and doing more vlogs and more nice shows for you guys. Don't forget that, we are also on Instagram where we kind of introduce our match days and vlogging and things like that. And check out our latest vlog, which should be coming out Saturday, I believe, sometime early on Saturday, UK and European time. So thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to join you again. We're back and running, Peter, and we'll see you again on Monday for the review. So see you then, guys. Ciao, ciao.